Okay guys, so we'll begin a new topic for this afternoon. So lesson 2 of the module 3 capital budgeting techniques. So at the end of the lesson, hopefully that you will be able to discuss the purpose of computing the payback period, explain the importance of capital budgeting, and identify the budgeting techniques and methods. So what we will be learning as an overview for lesson 2 is techniques on how to decide whether what investment you will be investing your money in. Considering that our capital, our financing is limited, so you have to weigh, you have to consider, you have to consider several factors on what projects or businesses or investment that you would want to take up. So we will be learning similar things. So there's an activity here considering that project A and project B have the similar tawag nito, investment, and there is the expected cash flow for year 1 is 15,500 and to 15,500. Payback is 2 years and payback is 1 year. So check the table on the right side of this box and answer the analysis below. So considering this scenario, answer the following. So let us try to learn capital budgeting. So it is an essential tool in financial management. It provides a wide scope of for financial managers to evaluate. So basically, the things that I will be teaching you this afternoon is for you to evaluate, okay, to weigh in factors and decide, again, what investment to take in. So the management is provided with an effective control on cost capital expenditures. So why do we need capital budgeting? So long-term investment involves risk. Okay, so when you wanted to do business, or when you are considering investment projects, you want it to sustain. By sustain, I mean that you would want it to exist and continue to earn money for as long as possible. That is why it should be long term. So hopefully dili na taan ng mga business, dili na taan ng mga investment nga good for 1 week lang, good for 1 month lang, good for 2 months. Sana iwasan na natin yung mga ganyan na mga investment decisions, because in the long run, we wanted our business decisions to be for the long term. Okay? That is why proper planning through capital budgeting is needed. Huge investment and irreversible ones. As the investments are huge but the funds are limited, proper planning through capital expenditure is a prerequisite. Okay, so dili man ta ingon niya unlimited ang atoang kwarta, no? There is always a limit as to how much capital we can have, even if maingon ka nga naman kay kautangan. So it's not really bottomless. At the same time, there are certain times na when we put our money in, it's already irreversible, meaning we cannot just tawag nito, dili pwede nga basta-basta na nato kuhaon na tong kwarta once mabutang na nato. So long run in the business, capital budgeting reduces the cost as well as brings changes in profitability of the company. So before we put in our money, it will lessen the risk and hopefully it will also reduce the cost by means of careful planning. It helps avoid over and under investment. So proper planning. So plano jud, plano. It really is a must in terms of business. Ako personally, I've lost thousands of money by not planning at all. Okay? Basta butang ng kwarta dira ana mo gawas ra bitaw na maginansa bitaw na. So that was my principle in doing business sa una, and it did not really prosper. Okay, it did not really prosper. So always bear in mind it's not okay to lose money. It's not okay to lose money. Buang-buang ka kung naasay mo ha or nagatuo kang okay ra mawad ang kwarta when doing business. It's not really, it's a sin to lose money when doing business. So as much as possible, you don't want to lose money, and one way for you to do it is capital budgeting. Plano dun, budget. Okay? So traditional method, this includes payback period and accounting rate of return. So let us start with payback period. So when we talk of payback period, we are considering this is a technique or a method wherein the primary concern that we have over an investment is unsa siya kadugay mabalik. By the way, before delving in, I want you to distinguish the two different ROIs. Meron tayong tinatawag na return of investment, meron din tayong tinatawag na return on investment. So when we are talking of investment, it simply refers to the return of your original capital. Okay? And for the return on investment, it simply refers to how much so let's say the amount of money beyond your capital. So return of investment is the return of your original capital, and the return on investment refers to the amount of money above your capital. So when we are referring to payback period, it refers to the return of investment. How long? The question is how long? So yan yung sa payback period, and the formula for it is cash outlay or the initial investment divided by the annual cash flow, considering na even ang iyahang cash flow. So what do you mean by even is that for every year nga mag-generate siya income, equal, even ang iyahang or uniform ang iyahang earning every year. So solution, for example, company C is planning to undertake a project that requires 105 million. The project is expected to generate 25 million for 7 years. So basic lang, basic na basic. The project cost is 105 million. Tapos ang iyahang yearly nga income is 25 million. So therefore, our payback period for this project is 4.2 years. Okay? So basic na basic lang, just the initial investment divided by the annual income, then we will be able to get the payback period. So 4.2 years. Dugaya ng 4.2 years. Oy, siguro na mag-comment, no? But in reality, guys, in a lot of business decisions, kaya mga dinagko, million na dyan, 4.2 years is actually short. Okay, usually, for example, malls have a return of investment na at least 5 years. Okay, so 5 years, bawion pa ang kapital. So 4.2 years is actually fast payback period already. Sabi mo, ang gusto mo na to, isa ka bulan lang, or saka simana lang, bawi dayon, ganahan kita manugal, ganahan kita mag sabong, online sabong, mag loto, last to kay pagtaya na to, pagka ugma, pagka unya, na dayoy balik, at least lugi kung ginansa, okay? So those are the things nga might lead us into losing money. Second one is uneven. So kanina dali lang to sa computation if it is even. How about if it is uneven? What do you mean by uneven is that the yearly income is not equal. So in this case, year 1, 13 million, 10 million, year 1, 13 million, year 2, 16 million, year 3, so on and so forth. So basically, ang gagawin lang natin is medyo tinamban siya, no? Considering that the annual cash flow is this one and this is the cumulative cash flow. So in year 1, we have 10 million. So, 40 na lang ang ato ang bawion. So, that's year 1, wala pa nabawi. Year 2, 13. So, 40 minus 13. So, nalibog muna sa gikuha. So, it's 50 minus 10. Kaya minus 13, 27 na lang. Pag abot sa year 2, wala pa takabawi. Year 3, 16 million daw, 16. Okay, wala pa gyapon takabawi. But for year 4, we are already generating a profit. So, the payback period is more than 3 years but less than 4 years. So, saan nato pagkuha ang katong in between? So, basic lang, we already have accumulated for 3 years. So, 3 years plus 11 divided by 19. So, asa gikuha ang 11 divided by 19? 11, which is the amount niya to pang bawion over the 19 million niya tong ma-earn on year 4. So, we just need to have the in between. So, it's 57.89 or 58. So, the payback period for this particular problem is 3.58 or years or 3.6 years if gusto natin siya i-round up. So, the decision rule. So, what is the decision rule when we are considering payback period? So, kung payback period na itong gina-consider, or we are choosing between one project and the other, and payback period ang ato ang gusto tan-awon. So, the longer the payback period of the project, the higher the risk. So, kung payback period atong gina-consider, we would want a project or an investment that returns our money on a shorter period. So, payback period of 3 years between and compared sa 2 years, ito jud sa 2 years. So, it applies, no? It applies magyapon na nang ginagamit nato nga. Sige lang, bahalag risky. 1 month lang bitaw to ang hulaton. Diba? Murag region. 1 month lang itong hulaton times 4 na itong kwarta. As compared sa kapang, every month, 30% lang. So, mag-region ta. Okay? So, payback period yapon ang gina-consider. Mas balik dayon ang kapital. Tapos ganito sa una, nakalimot lang ko nga. 1 week lang, times 2 na yung kwarta. Hindi wow. Okay? So, compared sa 1 week, times 2 niya, region, times 4, 1 month. Ito sa times 2, 1 week, kay balik dayon. So, payback period. Okay, let's now go to the accounting rate of return. Accounting rate of return is the ratio of the estimated accounting profit of project to the average investment made in a project. So, ARR is basically, more lang na siyang net income. No? Net income. So, we are referring here to the amount of money we are able to generate from our capital. So, for example, an initial investment of 130,000 is expected to generate annual cash inflow of 32,000 for 6 years. Depreciation is allowed on a straight line basis. It is estimated that the project will generate scrap value of 10,500. Okay. So we have here an initial investment of 130. Okay. 130,000. Even if sinabi doon na the annual cash inflow is 32 years, but we will not be using the 32,000 as our, dili siya 32,000 divided by 130. Dili siya nga because again, we have already learned in our accounting that depreciation is, even if it is a non-cash expense, we are to deduct depreciation from our revenue. So instead of using the 32,000, we will still be deducting the depreciation. So in this case, meron daw, okay, the cost of the investment minus the scrap value. We will be able to get the depreciable cost, and it will be depreciated over 6 years. 6 years. 6 years. Okay. So for this particular project, there is a yearly depreciation expense of 19,916. Okay, so gihimo lang siyang 19,917. So from the income or the revenue of 32,000, babawasan pa natin yan ng 19,997. Therefore, our accounting profit is 12,083. So the 12,083 atong i-compute na siya sa atong initial investment na 130. Therefore, the accounting rate of return is 9.3%. Okay? Dili kay kung dili accounting profit atong gamiton, it will be 24.61%. But again, if we want to be conservative and take into account depreciation expense, therefore, it is only 9.3%. So, the decision rule. So, if given the choice between two projects, ano ang pipiliin natin? Of course, ang pipiliin natin when we wanted to consider accounting rate of return is the higher percentage. So, kung sa ito nga project that muhatag sa tuwag mas dako nga percentage na accounting rate of return, then dito ta. Okay, number 2, discounted cash flow method. So, in the discounted cash flow method, kani manggod diri as a payback period and sa accounting rate of return, we are considering the money as it is. Wala nato siya gi-discount. So, by mean of discount, we have already discussed this one in module 2 lesson 1, the time value of money, that the money that you are able to receive today has higher value as compared to the amount of money that we will be receiving in the following year. Okay? That is why in the discounted cash flow method, we wanted to incorporate the discount rate of the future cash flow. Okay? So, we have here the net present value. So, wala tayo example diri sa module, but I'll give you a simple example. Assuming that we have two projects, Project A and Project B. Okay, both of the project requires 500,000 investment. Okay, and naa sila future cash flow na the following. Year 1, year 2, year 3. 3 years lang, for example. So, si Project A, mao ni ang iyahang cash flow. Okay. So, total. So, between the two projects, ang nga project ang imuhang gusto investan. Okay? Sige daw, try to analyze. So, both of them have an initial investment of 500,000. And in terms of cash flow, pareha lang po, 650,000 ang total. So, how do we decide? How do we decide on what project to take up? Okay? So, dire na mosulod si net present value. So, what we are considering here is the timing of the cash flow. So, the earlier the cash flow, the better. Considering that we have a discount rate of 10%. Okay? Again, natun-an na ninyo ni siya, Module 2, Lesson 1, Time Value of Money. Okay? So, how do we compute? So, ang tong buhaton is that 100,000 is the future value. 350, 200. These are the future value for year 1, year 2, and year 3. Pangitaon nato ang present value ani nila by using 10% as our discount rate. Okay? So, for example, 100,000. So, if you remember the formula is ganito. Kalimot mo ko 1 plus wait. It's n ba to? Or the amount divided by 1 plus r raised to the power of n. Okay? Ito nga na ang formula. Or para di mo maglibog, kung i-search sa Google, no? present value formula. Yan. Just a review, no? Yan. FV, the future value over 1 plus R raised to the power of N. Wherein future FV is the future value, the rate of return, and the number of periods. Balik sa to. Okay, so equals. Compute natin, no? So, kani, the future value divided by 1 plus 10% raised to the power of 1. Okay, 1 year man. Okay. Kani, year 2. Kani, 3. So, muna siya ang ato ang present value. Tapos, at itandi nato na siya diri sa ato ang itandi nato na siya diri sa ato ang project. So, nata initial investment nga 500 tapos ang present value sa iyang future cash flow is 530. So, therefore, ay mali, baliktad. Kani dapat dai. Kani minus kani. Ay mali. Ito naman tayo. Cash flow minus the initial investment. So, natay net present value. Okay? Net present. Anong ginatawag mo siya net present value? Because again, these are the present value of the future cash flow and the present value of the investment. So, in-net nato na sila, pilay sobra. So, mukaginan siya taog 30,000. Let's try this formula sa project B na to. Kita na to ang formula. So, equals, kani, the future value divided by 1 plus R raised to the power of 1. Okay? So, for the next one, ayan. Total. So, the net present value for project B is 61,000. So, on the basis of net present value, project B is better. So, nga naman na, sir? You might be asking. Because the timing of the inflow in project B is earlier. So, you can see, even if pareha sila og total, okay, sa future cash flow, the timing in project B is much, much earlier. In year 1, project A only produces 100,000. But for project B, it was able to generate 300,000 on year 1. That is why this timing of 300,000 in project B have led into a better net present value. That is why between the two projects, considering net present value, project B ang atong pilion. Okay? So, internal rate of return. So, sa internal rate of return, this is basically the net present value or the discount rate that will result into a zero net present value. Okay? This is defined as the rate at which the net present value of the investment is zero. The discounted cash flow is equal to the discounted cash outflow. So, this method also considers the time value of money just like this one. It tries to arrive to a rate of interest at which funds invested in the project could be repaid out of the cash inflow. So, companies invest in different projects to generate value and increase their shareholders' wealth. It is possible only if the project they invest in generate a return higher than the minimum rate of return required by the providers of the capital. So basically, kaning internal rate of return, guys, is somewhat related here. Ang discount rate nga atong gigamit in this computation is 10%. Okay? So 10% atong gigamit because probably the lenders or the creditors are willing to lend us money. Willing sila magpahulam og money at 10%. Okay? Now, the internal rate of return is the percentage nga pag ato siyang gamiton in our computation will result into a zero net present value. So, take as atong example ang project B. Okay? So, atong igamit mga dere is 10%. So, unsa daw nga percentage, unsa daw nga internal rate, unsa daw ang internal rate of return? Meaning, unsa daw ang percentage nga pag gamiton nato siya, zero ang magawas. So, let us try to have 20. Tayo tag 20 ha. The higher the discount rate, the lower manggod pod ang present value. So, at 20%, nag-negative na siya, so it is much lower. So, let us try 17. Okay, taas-taas lang, no? Try tao na 18, 18.5. Okay, napay 2,000. So, it's much higher than 18.5 at 18.7. It's basic. Tinamban niya guys. Tinamban. There is a formula for this one. But we will not be delving deeper into that. Taas pagyapon siya. So, let us try 19. Ano to 19? Kung mag-0 ba siya? Oops, negative na. So, delete 19. Let's try 18.9. 18.9. Almost, kapit na siya. Okay. So, definitely in between 18.9 and 18.8. Okay, so in between kay dili man siya 0 but it's closer to 0. So let us assume na lang 18.8%. So assuming that this is the IRR, the internal rate of return. So we would want projects that have a return of more than 8.18%. So mao na ato ang benchmark. Okay? So the IRR will tell us nga for example kan 18.8%. So the IRR will tell us that this is the rate. Okay, this is the rate, this is the minimum rate that we could take, or this is the break-even rate. Okay, so kay ma-zero man siya, although dili jud siya tantong zero, but it's more or less this one. So let us just assume nga mo ni ang IRR. So the IRR is the rate that will result into a break-even of our initial investment and our future cash flow. Mao mo gani ang amount nga mao ni siya ang rate nga ipautang sa atoa sa at this rate nga makabayad ta sa ato ang gipautang sa atoa, makabayad ta sa interest, and at the same time mag-break even ang ato ang dili ta malugi. Okay? So basically in another interpretation of this is the minimum accounting rate of return na to ang i-consider before investing in a particular project. So, as much as possible, we would want to take on a project na mas taas ani. Okay, mas taas ani. So, kung ang rate of return is 20% and 18% ang isa, of course, dito to sa 20%. Because 18, lugi man ta sa 18. So, that's how you evaluate this one. Again, I will not be going over into details kaning sa internal rate of return. Just wanted to somewhat have a perspective. So, profitability index, so this alternatively referred to as value investment ratio. So, basically, ang gina-compute nato there is this is similar to the accounting rate of return. However, it's more focused on the cash inflow instead of the accounting rate of return. Okay, so for example, katong sa toa ganina, instead of accounting rate of return. Instead of the 12083, the profitability index would have it like this. 32 divided by 130. Ano lang siya diretso. So, 24.61%. Because it's more of a cash-centered instead of the accounting rate of return. Okay? So, it is calculated as the ratio between the present value of the future expected cash flow and the initial amount invested in the project. So the PI is helpful in ranking various projects because it lets investor quantify the value created per each investment unit. So a profitability index of 1 is logically the lowest acceptable measurement of the index. Nga naman, because this is at break even. Pag 1 yan ang magawas ani, this is break even. So we would want our profitability index to be higher than 1. So for example, ang imong profitability index is let's say 100,000 ang inflow tapos ang 100,000 po ang outflow, it's 1. So basically wala kay ginansya. So ideally, putang nato 200,000 or sabihin na natin 150 over 100, 1.5. So this is a better profitability index as compared sa 1. Basta dili lang 1 kay break even man eh. So there's an application here. Please do submit it via Google Classroom together with the activity above. If there are questions, feel free to chat or comment sa GCR or sa YouTube. So I hope that you were able to learn something in that. Just to share, no, before I end this one, just to share, I've actually invested in Axie Infinity, no. I don't know if you're familiar. Axie Infinity. I've invested money here for like I started as a scholar na nakoy barkada nga nakasulod siya last year. Ang capital ra niya 8,000 sa naol kaayo. So gipa-scholar ko niya for 1 month, then nakaangay ko after 1 month nag-invest ko ako ang team. So it's been 3 months since nag-invest ko ako ang team, and personally I was able to generate a good amount of money. Although ginaparoling lang gihapon ako, wala pa dyan ako gigawas ako ang kwarta. But nevertheless, I'll give you a short computation. Yun, what went into my mind in investing in Axie Infinity. So way back, okay, I think that was August. Okay, I was earning at least 150 SLP. Okay, 150 SLP. The investment is 40. Okay, ang ako ang gigasto ato is around 40,000 for one team. Okay. So, ngano mang willing man ko to of course I did my study, no. I did my research. Studyhan at first I was skeptical about it because it's a dula-dula lang. It's just a game. How would you be able to generate money? Kaya ako ang type sa person niya. Dili ko mag-invest ako sa kabutang number 1, wala ko kasabot diyon sa pagbuhat ang kwarta. So, para tong kapas ako nakasabot man ko nga ipatuyok naman yun ang kwarta ato. There's no value created in that kind of scheme. That is why wala jud ko nag-invest ato. But this time around, upon my research and as well as my analysis, I was able to understand niya there's value created. Okay, naay source ang kwarta nga gina-earn mo by means of playing. Okay. So 40,000 was the team. Tapos the price of the SLP back then was I think it was 6 pesos per SLP. And I was earning around 50 SLP per day. So do the math. 150 multiplied by 30 days. So that's equals 150 times 30. So that's 4,500 sabihin na natin 130. Wag na 150 just to be conservative. So that's 39. 39 per month SLP. Tapos multiplied mo ng 6 pesos multiplied by 6. So that's 23,000. Yeah, that's 23,000 pesos per month. Okay? So, on month 1, month 2, same. So, may lang ha. So, basically, akong capital 40. So, yung payback period data guys. So, on year 1, on month 1, wala pa ako kabawi. On month 2, bawi na ako. Okay? Sobra pagani. So, since sobra man, atong buhaton is 16,600 divided by 23,400. So, plus 1. So, I was able to get my initial investment of 40,000 in just 1.7 months. 1.7 months. So, if i-compute na to na in days, that's 0.70 times 30 days. So, that's 21. So, 1 month and 21 days. So, bawi na lang ako ang capital in 1 and 21 months and days. So, understanding that there is value created and understanding I am able to get at least 130 SLP per day and considering that the price is 6 pesos per SLP, so the payback period is 1 month and 21 days. That is why I was convinced. Wala, sa akong mga nasudlan nga business before, nag 1 year na lang, nag 2 years na lang, wala pa man jud gihapon kabawi. So considering the 40,000 tas mabalik sa in 2 months, more or less 2 to 3 months. So wala na ako nagduha-duha no, nag-invest jud ko. And 3 months after, ako na jud pod, I already have 5 teams right now. Ako'y 5 teams na ako'y mga kauban niya nag-invest pod, nag-sharing may ato nga mga teams. So wala din ako gisolo and all. So I shared the opportunity as well as look for people. Nangita ra po mga tao nga willing pod mag-invest kay lisod magud sa akin nga I'm not the type of person who just shares kanang for free no. Dili ko gusto nang mag kanang marabag ka ng makiangkas lang ka ba. Di kay naswak sa ko. At the very least, tunga ta or share ta sa risk. So that is why I decided to went into Axie Infinity. So the payback period is good. The first month, okay, the accounting rate of return is for the first month is staggering 58.5%. Sobrang laki, no? And even until now, it's November 18, I would still say that it is still a good investment. But then again, this is crypto. There is fluctuations of value. So I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but if you are willing to risk some amount of money, then I'd say it's a worthy investment. It's a worthy investment. Provided niya na extra nga money. Extra nga money lang. Kaya kung life savings nimo na or mangutang pa ka, delikado kayo na. So again, this is not a financial advice. I'm just sharing to you my personal insight. So I hope that you were able to learn something, and that would be all, and God bless.